Hi everyone, I'm Pete Trego and welcome again to the Clubhouse. I hope you're all safe and well and enjoying our little chats that we're having with various sports people from different sports around the world. Today I'm delighted to be joined by former top 10 in the world golfer and two-time Ryder Cup winner, David Howell. How the devil are you?
I'm very well, Pete. Thanks. Yeah, all things being equal. Yeah, not too bad. Nice to be joining you in the clubhouse here this evening.
Oh, that's very kind, mate. Like I said, I even had a bit of an isolation madness moment and put a shirt and tie on. I'm not completely suited up, as below I've got my gym shorts on, but I thought, as you're probably almost certainly going to be the classiest contributor to the clubhouse, I thought I'd smarten myself up for the first time this month.
Well, that's nice, mate. Yeah. When I saw you in that, I nipped upstairs and got changed, and I came back wearing exactly the same thing, basically. So this is as good as I can do.
The golfer's wardrobe, polo shirts galore.
Indeed.
So Dave, what have you been doing with yourself, if you don't mind me asking, in these very, very strange, peculiar times we find ourselves in?
Yeah, well, I'm very fortunate in that I've got these three great little boys, 8 and Freddie, who's 8, and Charlie and Sam, who are 6-year-old twins. And they're a handful, quite frankly. So homeschooling, that's a bit of a shock to the system. I know I'm not earning that one, but Emily and myself are just, we're hanging out, trying to teach them where we can, get out for our 1 hour a day, bit of bike riding. Quite lucky where we are, we can get out and it's fairly quiet. So just proper hardcore family time. But it's been, in a strange way, in these trying times, quite nice to a point. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably, well, from my point of view, very similar setup. 3 kids trying to entertain. I tried a little bit of the homeschooling thing, but I found out very quickly that my 12, 15 and 18-year-olds are far more intelligent than I am, so I'm just leaving them to it.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have asked any of your mates for any advice there, and they would have told you the same thing, buddy. No disrespect,
Exactly.
men.
How are your times tables, by the way? That's probably the maths issues at the moment, isn't it, for a 6-year-old?
Yeah, not bad. Better than theirs, in fairness. But I found that when I'm doing number bonds with the boys, they'll only listen to me if I turn into some sort of East End market trader and give it, all right, mate, how you doing? What is 7 + 3 makes what, 10? That's it. If I do my own voice, absolutely nothing. So very strange, very strange. But we're trying to do what we can. I quite like it, actually. Yeah.
And I believe you live nearish to a golf course, but presumably that's completely shut down. Are you getting any practice in, or have you got a bit of a chipping area in your garden? Because I've taken out the shed window already, trying to do a bit of chipping. I thinned one straight off the blade.
Nice work.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, well, I live on the back of St George's Hill, which is a gorgeous golf club, but we're able to go for a walk, but we can't play. I certainly can't play any golf on there. Everything's closed, so certainly doesn't seem the right thing to do to break the curfew, shall we say? So no, we have a wander around there once a day for our half an hour or so. The boys have made a bit of a den outside the back gate, and we're in the garden. Bouncy castle was ordered. That arrived last Monday, unbeknownst to me, as always, but probably one of my wife's wiser investments, I would have to say, over the last 2 weeks. And thankfully, as you know, the weather's turned good, so we're just hanging out and living like we're on. Fortunately, we're all well. Although I had a bit of a sniffle, I wasn't great for a couple of weeks, but I'm over that. And just literally downtime. And we've never lived like this in our life, like most people, I guess. We've never been, so housebound, so just into the family and whatever. And it's quite eye-opening, but it's also been very nice.
Yeah, there are definitely positives to take from it, but I have to admit, as soon as you get a little bit of a sniffle, there's a bit of a panic on, isn't there? You instantly start Googling all the symptoms and this, that. It's pretty scary times, in fairness, but it sounds like you're coping well and focusing your energies on the family time. That is probably quite rare for a golfer, because you clock up some air miles, you boys, don't you?
Yeah, we do. I mean, I have a very strange life, as do my family, in that I'm either, when I'm here, I'm really here. I obviously don't go to work when I'm home. I go to the golf club during school hours maybe, but I'm a very hands-on dad when I'm home. but then I go away, maybe for 3-4 weeks, not as long as the cricketers, in fairness, when you go on your tours, but 30 weeks a year. It's quite a big ask on the missus to cope with three little ones while I'm away. So on that side, I think this will be a very unique period of time for my family, like it is for a lot of people. But all 5 of us in the house constantly. The plus sides are very nice. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of, the fact that I can't play golf, can't practice, I don't have a gym at home. So I'm literally have nothing on my plate whatsoever, golf wise at the moment. And I'm trying to really get away from it and enjoy the fact that I can't do it.
Well, I suppose sometimes a rest can refresh the mind, refresh the body, but you're now the second person to come on here, completely embarrassing me. Obviously, we had Harry talking so fondly about his wife, Sandra, Harry Redknapp, that is, and now you basically...
Sandra, it's San, isn't it? I always say on the
San, yeah. San with a jam roly-poly. And now you're the hands-on dad when you get home. I come home from one of my tours and I'm like, feet up, too tired, you crack on, love. So I've been embarrassed twice. It's another episode the wife's not going to be able to see.
You've been through it, mate. Yours are a bit older than mine. That's just let's put it, we'll paint you in a good light on that front, mate.
Yeah, in terms of the golf, the wider, broader picture, obviously this week is Masters Week. Devastated because this is one of the weeks that I book out that I will be watching TV until 1 o'clock in the morning. No EastEnders, anything like that. It's a pure golf week for the avid fan. Obviously, yourself, a 20-plus year veteran of the European Tour. How do you think the tour is going to cope with this period? I'm assuming it's probably the same as most other sports. A lot of unknowns coming up. But have you had any communication between the players' representatives and all that kind of stuff as to how we're going to move forward from this as a sport?
Yeah, well, as it happens, I chair our committee, the players' committee. So, I'm probably slightly more involved in the loop than the rest of the guys. My job to pass on the information to them somewhat. But it's completely unknown, isn't it? I'm sure it's the same in all sports. You can plan. Maybe we can start in July. Maybe we can start in September. Who knows? So we're putting plans in place to try and get back out there as soon as the world sort of lets us. But so many unknowns. It's incredibly difficult to sort of wade through all the complexities. So lots of conversations with the tour staff and our CEO, and sort of weekly and daily, almost daily updates. To be honest with you, we keep losing tournaments. Every couple of days another one goes by the wayside. So I think the very earliest we're starting is August, if everything turned out the absolute best. Pretty much it's a write-off. We want to get out there as soon as we can, but what can anyone say? What can any CEO say? When we're a sport where it's not like we're even on the PGA Tour where most of the guys are already in America and they just have to travel around America. We're coming from all corners of the world to convene on in a different country each week. It's a logistical nightmare, really. So goodness only knows what we're going to be allowed to do and when. And until we get some clarity, of course, we can't really come up with any firm plans. So it's a wait and see, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm sure it is much the same in most sports. I suppose the one benefit to golf is it's a almost 52-week-a-year sport now with so many events in different parts of the world. But in fairness, I suppose your job as the chair for the European Tour Players Association, it's not all glamour for a lot of the players out there. A lot of the guys don't earn the millions and millions and millions, do they? And play on all the different tours. People with partial exemptions, all this must be a real tough place to be as a guy that's probably placed between 125 and 250 in the world. I mean, it's probably quite worrying times for a lot of people out there.
Yeah, I mean, golf's an unusual sport in that sense, a very fair sport. There are no contracts. The top guys, you've got your sponsorship contracts, of course, if you're in that arena, and of course, like anything top end sport, that can be millions. But yeah, the end you're mentioning there, guys who are just trying to keep their job on our tour. Yeah, you know, to keep your card last year, it was nigh on £300,000, but you've got at least 100,000 of expenses in there. So, you know, there's no one that's kept their card last year that should be in dire financial situation at this point in time, because they will have earned enough last year. But the guys coming up, or the guys who have been, you know, around that area for the last 3 or 4 years, the only just good enoughs, shall we say. It's not like they're millionaires in any way, shape, or form. And of course, when you play golf, it costs you nigh on £3,000-4,000 a week to go to work. So you know, you fire out 10 missed cuts in a row, that's 30 grand straight out the bank account.
And that's
so
not
it's
even
tough,
that's not even looking at the Rioja bill, because the golfers and red wine, that's quite a thing, isn't it?
Well, there's a bit of that as well. There is a bit of that, but you know, we're in professional sports. You know, it's cut and thrust, isn't it? And it's competitive, and you've got to be good enough. And if you're only just good enough, it's always a difficult environment to be in. And as the guys that, you know, are running these tour, the tour, or any tour sport, you have to look after the top guys. You also have to look after the guys at the bottom as well. And you know, we're a members organization, but we don't give the money away. You have to earn it. So for sure, there's a lot of guys out there at the moment who are coming, you know, maybe towards the end of their careers, or have been struggling for a few years. This year, you know, for any sportsman, it's a full-on disaster. You don't know where it's going to lead. It's a massive hiatus in anyone's career. You know, 6 months off, and it's going to hurt a lot of people, no doubt about it.
Yeah, even the guys in you know, cricket, from my point of view, I can nick off for naught and still get a paycheck at the end of the week, which is always quite nice. There's still pressures in it and everything, but you know, we've had so many phone calls this week about the unsure situation. Obviously, these cricket grounds, especially when I play it now, Trent Bridge, so many staff that are you know, in, you know, an unknown scenario. It's very strange, but we must move on. Obviously, the game will survive. The one good thing about being a sportsman this time is you actually realise, you know, with all the seriousness, the loss of life, all these kind of things happening, is people are missing their sport. And that's a great message, because when we are back out there, I think the stands, the golf courses are going to be absolutely rammed.
Yeah, when we get there, and you know, we get fully through this, and people are able to move around like we've always been used to, then yeah, there's going to be a lot of pent up enthusiasm to do all sorts of things, aren't there? If I think everyone's first move is to go for a pint down the pub, probably, and after that,
I don't even drink.
Yeah, and then for sure, you know, once the world gets back to somewhat normal, let's hope that's the case, and sport will obviously play a part in entertaining everybody, as it always does. So look forward to the day where we can play golf in front of a massive crowd, and that would be you know, from the, you know, pretty much the depths of despair that the world's in right now, that'll be a happy time, won't it?
Amen, amen. Certainly will. Now, moving on to a little bit of golf, because it's such a inclusive sport, golf. There are so many players, so many people out there that play the game. Every sportsman is an avid golfer. Everyone's got their goals, and I don't think there's a better person to ask. We all know that how you take your money off your mate is putting, and you were, I believe, known, if not ranked, I don't know how you did rank this, I know you got some crazy stats, but the best putter in the world at one stage with your Yes C groove. I even went out and spent $76.99 on a Yes C groove. I think that
good
was
knowledge.
your choice at the time. Is there a putting?
Can you get the model though? Could you get the model? Which model?
Oh, the Yes C groove. They're all like girls' names, aren't they?
Ladies' names. Yeah, yeah.
I want to say like Carrie or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Right, Callie. Well done.
Callie, that's the one. Yeah, yeah. The Yes C groove had a funny little rainbow on the front. I don't know. It always used to shank off to the left for me. So
I've got about 5 in the garage.
500.
Five in the garage. It hasn't come out this year. I'm using a Titleist Scotty Cameron, but yeah, I was pretty good. Anyway, you know, we digress. Yeah, what was your question?
I want to talk about putters for a minute. I've got at the moment a Scotty Cameron Tyrillium, the new limited edition one that they've done, the black one. Oh my god, it's so good. But I have to admit that they're quite expensive things now, aren't they? Like £499. I get it out, and the first thing whoever I'm playing says, "Well, you better putt well with that." And it's like
the pressure,
is actually...
pressure piling on the shoulders. Indeed.
So if I three putt, I could have done that with a Dunlop, a $399 Dunlop.
Yeah. Well, funny you should say that, because when I was renowned as this, one of the world's great putters, I've always putted nicely. I don't think I was ever the best putter in the world, and you give that to Tiger Woods all day long, I would say. I putted pretty well for a few years, a bit like Jordan Spieth in the last 5 years, I guess. But the more people spoke about, you're the best putter in the world, or one of the best, and you're great, but then they come for, even the guys on the tour come over, and some guys would walk up to Rory now and say, "God, how'd you hit your driver like that?" People used to come up to me and have a look at my technique and this, that, and the other. Actually, it got to a point where it's, in some ways, quite pressuring, because everyone's building you up. Lovely for your confidence on, but you have to be careful, because all of a sudden, you can't get blasé about the fact that that's your strength, because then you don't practice as much as you once did. And secondly, when you're on the course, very almost depending on what your mood you're in. You go out there on a bad day mentally, and you think, well, I better hold this putt because that's the only thing I can do that I'm any good at, and that would be pressuring, And for you guys, I don't know, if you pull shots that you go to shot, and everyone thinks that's the best shot in the world, you get in the wrong mindset, and all of a sudden you've got a perfect pull shot going on there. The brain can start playing tricks with you. So in some ways, it was a little bit tricky being renowned, but on balance, I think the confidence I got from as well as just didn't lie. It doesn't matter about people's opinions if the stats are showing that you're putting better than everyone else. I mean, I worked hard at trying to buy into that fact and say, no, you are one of the best 3 or 4 putters. It doesn't matter what anyone says. It's easy for your mates to say, "Oh, Howler, you're always holding putts, aren't you? All you do is putt. God, you look great." And I had that for a few years, but it wasn't until about 2002, I think, that we actually had a stats program that could kind of prove it. And then it was
gained. Is that right? Strokes gained?
That's what we do now. But I was using private guys. I got a company called StrokeAverage.com that I started working with, and it was them, after a couple of months of logging my stats, that they came back and kind of did a comparison with Tiger and the great putters from the PGA Tour. It wasn't a direct comparison, but they actually, sitting in my living room and saying, "You do realize from our numbers, you are one of the world's, genuinely are one of the world's great putters." And I was like, "Really?" Yeah. They showed me the numbers, and I thought, yeah. And of course, from that, I gained an awful lot of confidence, to the point that when I was nervous over a putt, I would say to myself, well, there's no one in the world more capable of hitting this putt. So you're the guy. You might as well just stand up and hit it. And if you hole it, you hole it. If you miss, you miss. But there's no one more equipped to do it. So just get on with it. And that was the kind of the way I took that positivity with me.
Well, like I said, don't be modest. You were, if not are, the best putter in the world, because it cost me, again, $76.99 for that sea groove. So in my eyes, you're the best player in the world. So my question was actually going to be, have you got a top tip for any golfers out there that I'm almost certain are burning holes in their carpets up and down the country, all over the world, that they can do to improve their putting?
Yeah, I have. It's in 2 parts, the easiest whilst the hardest thing to do. So you watch, never mind me, watch Tiger Woods. He's the best exponent of this. When Tiger putts, it looks like he looks at the grass that is behind. He leaves a little gap behind the ball, between the ball and the putter face, and his gaze is on the grass that's in between, the putter face and the ball. And he's got the most beautiful rhythm. He just putts. It's not until he finishes his stroke and he just cocks his head to see where the ball's gone. Finishes his stroke, then looks. You watch watch amateurs and watch a lot of pros, and everyone's looking up at the same time. And it's the simplest thing. So 5 pence piece is the best thing to do. Practice from 4 feet, or if you're practicing in the house at the moment, put a cup down, putt from 4 or 5 feet. But place your ball just in front of a 5 pence piece, so you can get it almost underneath, and you just see a slither of that 5 pence piece, and then just keep your gaze on that 5 pence piece until you hear the ball go in the cup, or you finish your stroke, and then look. And I mean, I've been trying to master it for years. It's actually easier from long range because you've got loads of time to look up to see whether the ball's going to go in the hole or not. From short range, it's actually way more important to do, but it's harder. So it's a, say, on the putting green, a really easy thing to do. When you take that to the course, it's a really difficult thing. But come what may, anyone, especially if you're a pretty average player, you keep your head down like that, then look, instantly you look like your handicap is 10 less than what it is. I mean, you go from, if you're a 25 handicapper, you look like a 10 handicapper on the greens, at least in a heartbeat. Of course, doesn't mean every putt's going to go in the hole. Of course, it's not. You know, the tough thing to get your head around with putting is your putts. It becomes more frustrating. The better you putt, the more often your ball still misses just about the same amount of time, but it misses by less. So you hit the hole instead of missing the hole. All your putts become better. They all threaten the hole more. They still miss. It just becomes more frustrating. But the law of averages, every now and then another putt drops in, and actually, you know, you hit one putt less per round, which you're probably not going to notice. It's not like you suddenly drop five putts per round. They actually, and it almost becomes more frustrating. So the better you start to putt, you better have a better mental game as well, because the putts miss less and it becomes more frustrating.
Yeah, it is a frustrating. I thought I played the world's most annoying game in cricket and frustrating, but when I tried to get a bit serious on the golf, absolutely improved my cricket, but my back nine Tourette's just absolutely took control. But that what you're talking about?
Well,
there,
that must be edging towards that. That must be the same. I mean, I'd love to know. I'll throw the question right back at. What's that when you get to, you know, 82, 85, and you're heading towards 100, which must be the same as trying to shoot whatever. You know, 100 must be the equivalent of shooting 65 or 64, I guess, in golfing terms. You know, really once in whatever 10 times a year score, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, I've always been a relatively decent golfer, and I reckon the process, the mental process I had to go through to break par at Western-super-Mare Golf Course that year, I scored my most hundreds, because I found that I'd stand on the 15th, 16th tee, 3 or 4 under the course, and I'd just blow up. It was embarrassing, and I learned that process. It probably took about, you know, I reckon 4 or 5 level pars before I finally cracked it and ended up going 3 under. I didn't even just break it by 1. But that process there I found so difficult. It improved my batting mentality so much. It's like I'm really interested in crossovers of sports, and interestingly, putting was probably the weakest part of my game. And going back to what you were saying there, we had a psychologist at Somerset County Cricket Club, a guy called John Pitts, and we talked about putting. And I was like, you know, Pitsy, I'd be a +1 golfer if I could putt. Terrible putter, this, that, and the other. And he said, "Are you interested in just doing a little bit of a task for me?" I said, "Yeah, happy, buy into it." And he obviously knows that everyone talks about golf. You know, you play 18 holes of golf with someone you don't know, and it's golf, 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 strengths, weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. He said, next time you stand on the first tee, whatever shot you hit, the first time someone asks you anything about putting, just tell them you're a great putter. Even if you're crap, tell them you're good. Tell them you're good. And over about a 6-month period, I started believing my own lie. And it was amazing how that mentality of I conned myself into thinking I was a good putter, and my putting became actually quite steady. And it was the same with cricket, really. God, I've tangented. Geez, I've done a right Billy Connolly there, but
not quite as well as Billy at this point.
No, not as funny. Not as funny either. There's no punchline. But yeah, that process was exactly the same for me. Getting to 80, the nervous 90s in cricket is the thing. And I learned a very, very bad lesson, or a good lesson, batting with James Hildreth a few years ago. I was on 96. I was literally in the zone. You know what I mean? In the zone. We met in the middle, and Hildy said, "Come on, Treeks, you know, tick over for your 100. You really deserve it. You've played well." And I looked at him square in the eyes. I said, "Don't worry, mate. I'm a 100 machine." And I was out next ball.
You fool. You fool.
That was Mother Cricket just looked upon me and struck me down with lightning. And from that moment on, I never took anything for granted when I had a good day. And that's when I really started to mature as a batsman and, getting 100. I've never a massive 100. I think I've scored, 25, I guess, in my professional career. Certainly not up there with the top batsmen, but it was always a massive lesson to stay in the moment. That's a big thing.
Yeah, well, it's everything, isn't it? It's a cliche, but it's absolutely everything. You remind me of a story when I eventually I won the Dunhill Links Championship at St Andrews 2013, but I think we first played in 2002, 3 or something, and it was the first ever one. So this is a tournament where you play with an amateur partner. The pro score is as per normal. You play on 3 courses. And it's a normal 72-hole tournament for the pros, but you're playing with an amateur partner, a businessman. It could be anyone. I happen to be playing with an actor, a lovely guy called Trevor Eve, who I think in the era just before ours was Eddie Shoestring, most famous for Eddie Shoestring. Good actor, nice guy. Played up about 15, and Trevor had played, frankly, pretty poorly for 3 days. And I think when we got to Saturday, I was 15 under par, and our team score, better ball, was 16 under. So he'd only beaten me once in 3 days. But anyway, he'd made the amateur cut, which was great. I was doing well. I was lying 1 off the lead or something. And Sunday is washed out. Terrible weather, we can't play. So it's not until Monday morning that we arrive on the putting green, ready for, an 11 o'clock tee time. And we're playing with Ernie Els and his father. So I'm quite excited about that on the old course at St Andrews. And Trevor, I see he looks incredibly ill when I meet him on the putting green. His face is the colour of your shirt, white as a ghost. And I said, Trevor, I assume he's been on the lash for the entirety of Sunday. He looks awful. And I said, Trevor, are you okay? He says, no, I'm not okay. Well, what's the matter? So have you seen who we're playing with? So I'm Ernie Howell and his dad. So I try a little joke. I said, well, don't worry. Ernie's dad's a lovely fella. You'll be fine. He's like, no, I don't fancy this. So I realise I've got a problem because this is a massive day for me. I'm trying to win this massive tournament. So anyway, I hit a couple of putts and I wander over and I says, Trevor, can I have a word? He says, yeah. I says, I'm going to level with you. Today is not about you. It's about me. So what do you mean? I said, well, look, this is the biggest day of my career so far. And I think I've looked after you pretty well for 3 days. He said, oh yeah, you've been great. You've been marvelous. I said, well, how about you forget about yourself and you look after me for today? He said, oh, I hadn't thought of it like that. I said, well, I realised that's why I bring it up. He said, well, what do you want? I said, mate, just enjoy yourself. You're playing with Ernie on the old course. This is going to be awesome. He says, if you play well, brilliant. If you don't worry about it. And, pick your ball up when you're out of the hole and just enjoy yourself. That's it. Anyway, turns out, best pep talk ever. Trevor plays like an absolute dream for the first 9 holes. He's about 5 under par. Ernie's calling him a bandit. He's high-fiving him. He's high-fiving the crowd. Everything's going right. I'm trying to stay in the moment, and I'm not looking at leaderboards. And I don't know, 6 under par through 12 holes. I don't know how I'm doing, but I'm just ahead of Ernie. And then we get to the 14th. I've ignored every leaderboard going. Trevor's in his own little world of high-fiving the crowd and so forth. And the fairways are wide at St Andrews. I'm sure you've played. In fact, we're on 15. And I'm left and Trevor's right, but we've got to wait for the green. And there's about 60 yards between us. And Trevor, I see him just walking towards me. I said, okay. Anyway, 60 yards, he makes a beeline for me, comes over. We've got plenty of time. And he puts his arm around me and says, David, he says, I've just seen the scoreboard. I don't know if you know this, but you're leading by 1. You could win this. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Trev. I was ignoring all the leaderboards. Actually, sure enough, 3 putt, bogey the 17th, lose by 1. So power of the mind. Like you, 96, the 100 machine. Before you know it, it all unravels, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's such a tough thing. Golf, cricket, so many similarities mentally. But I'm glad you mentioned the Dunhill because I thought you actually say you had a night out in the Jigger because I've been in that place on a Saturday afternoon. That gets a bit lively in there with Big Maz. I don't know what I need to do, actually. I mean, I don't think I was ever a good enough cricketer to get on, and I'm certainly not a good enough golfer. But if you can give me Mr. Rupert's number, I need to send him a little text message just to get on the reserve list. What a 4 days the Dan Hill.
Yeah, it is good fun, you know. And as a pro, the loveliest thing about it is, you know, if you're lucky, you meet some everyone there. You meet some amazing guys, businessmen, whatever. Everyone's done something in life to be on that list, so they've all got an interesting story to tell. But when you meet the famous people, the lovely thing is they're in your office. You know, it's amazing. They're more nervous than you. I'm not saying that they're, you know, nervous to meet you, or the likes of me, for instance, but you know, when they're meeting Ernie and those type of guys, yeah, for sure, they're kind of a bit, you know, they're in awe of the guys they're playing with. So it's a wonderful dynamic to meet these people in, and yeah, it's a true delight. I have to say, yeah.
Am I right in saying that your partner's Hugh Grant has been your partner a few times?
Yeah, played with Hugh probably 8-10 times now, which has been yeah, we've got a nice friendship over those times. We have a good laugh, and yeah, I just take the piss out of him, really, and he seems to like that. So in fairness, the first time we met, our friendship was either done for or sealed in the first moment. We met on the 10th tee at King's Barnes, and Thursday morning, quite a big crowd on the left-hand side. And I'd already teed off, and I walked forward. This is when I'm in my prime years, hence why I was playing with Hugh. And Hugh was he literally taken his second waggle. I mean, his name'd been announced, and second waggle, and I just, whoa, Hugh, stop, just back away. And so he's like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, he says, look of, you know, petrified look on his face. Am I in front of the markers or what? I said, no. I just want to say, loads of people watching you here. They're all here to watch you. Whatever you do, don't fuck this up, will you? And and he's like, you bastard. So anyway, nobbled one down the middle, hit a wedge onto the green, made a birdie, and yeah, and kind of we got off thankfully on the right foot, and he kind of liked the fact that I was ballsy enough to rip the piss out of him, having only met him 2 minutes ago. So yeah, we've had a good time ever since.
Fair shame. Well, I've heard some of your stories. I'm surprised you didn't get a part in Love Actually, to be fair. You'd be cast perfectly in something like that. You should get onto it.
Well, yeah, maybe the next one.
You'd fit in nicely. Well, with our putting, yes, Seagroove stories, you mentioned the Tiger. You've obviously experienced playing in tournaments with him. Just describe what that's like. Did you get overpowered by the Tiger aura, or did you succeed on that particular day?
Well, good intro actually, because the first time I played with Tiger, the year it was either 2003 or 2004, Dubai Desert Classic, final round, second last group, so in the hunt to win, and Tiger's in his pomp. I mean, there's thousands. I would say it's the biggest ever crowd that had come out to watch anyone in Dubai. It was amazing. So yeah, and Tiger happened to, you know, luck into my draw, yeah. And actually, as I walked to the first tee, a big day again, you know, big tournament to try and win, and I thought I could very, very easily get incredibly intimidated pretty quickly here. And I've always, one of my things, I don't know how you've gone about your career, but I've always been, one of my strengths has always been coming up with a plan for the day when I need one. You know, don't need a plan every day. Some days are just a normal day, you know, on the links. But on big moments, I become very aware I need a strategy today. And when I sit on that tee, just a couple of minutes before we teed off, I thought, shit, yeah, this could be intimidating. And I just decided, I've got it. I'm not going to watch him. So I teed off first, as it happened, hit quite a nice shot down the middle. And then I put my club back to the caddy, and very respectfully, as everyone was craning their necks to try and get a look at Tiger, and, you know, everyone on TV's watching this opening shot, I just turned completely, you know, 90 degrees to the side, 180 degrees away from him, and I just heard the strike, and I heard this roar go, whoa, you know, amazing, great, and the applause, and this, that, and the other. And then he walked straight right into the trees, into a lie in the heavy rough, no shot to the green. And I thought, yeah, this plan could work. Very easy to just get, you know, caught up in the strike and everything. So I didn't, and I stuck to my plan beautifully. First 9 holes, I did not hit one shot. And then on the 10th, he'd hit his 3-wood 2 yards past my driver, but I was beating him at this point. I think I'm one in front, and I thought, do you know what? I hit a nice second shot onto the green, par 5, best shot I could hit with a 3-iron, and I was feeling pretty good about myself. I thought, you know what, bollocks to this, I'll watch him. So he pulled a 5-iron out, whereas I just hit 3-iron, and he hit this shot. I mean, it went off like a wedge. I've never hit a shot like it. I'm not capable of hitting that shot. One of the finest strikes of an iron I've ever seen. It landed on the front of the green and like landed, you know, like a butterfly with sore feet or something, to about 10 foot. Best shot I've ever seen. Unbelievable. And as it turns out, I hold my eagle putt. He followed me in, and I didn't watch another shot until the last because he scared the living daylights out of me. So that was my first experience, and which was amazing. What I will say is, you know, of course, I've played with him 5 times. I've watched him close up 5 times now. That one I decided not to watch. I played with him at the Masters, and I watched every shot intently. That was the year he chipped in the famous chip, you know, on 16, the one that rolls and comes back. I actually played with him that morning because our 3rd round was Saturday night into Sunday morning. And I was a nervous Masters rookie, teeing off in the second last group for the 3rd round with Tiger, and which was amazing. And I didn't play too bad actually, but I intently watched him as we went around there, and he played 6, 7, 8, and 9, just perfection. I remember what he said on 7. He said to his caddy, "Well, it's an 8-iron with 1 yard of fade, aiming at the tower." And his Stevie Williams just said, "Yeah, perfect." And I watched it, and he hit it. It was 1 yard. You know, it was an 8-iron. It landed. It went to this 8's the par 5. He birdied that. You know, with a pitch and a putt. 9, one of the best iron shots I've ever seen. A hanging lie, ball below his feet, down slope, back left pin. Had to hit a high hook with the 7-iron. I mean, this thing was sublime to 4 feet.
I'm thinking thin, straight right.
Yeah, at best. And then hardly any. There's probably only 5 people in the world that know this. Me and my caddy, Tiger, and Stevie Williams at the time, and maybe whoever else was right there. Probably just the 4 of us. He teed off on 10, so he just birdied 4 in a row, as I recall. And we got in the middle of the 10th berry. He hit 3-wood, and it was Saturday night. It's late, he had the biggest lump of mud on his golf ball you've ever seen. No preferred lies because it's a major championship. And honestly, he gets to his first waggle, and the hooter goes for end of play because Chris DeMarco's just putted out on the 9th. I mean, split-second stuff. And if he has to hit that shot, that ball can go anywhere. Rhododendrons, pine trees. It doesn't go straight. It's a mud ball. But he managed to come back in the morning with a clean ball. He birdied 10. He birdied 11. He birdied 12. He birdied 13. It was an unbelievable. Yeah. Well, he got lucky 2 or 3 times, but he deserved it. And he went from 6 behind to 1 behind or something. That's the best round of golf I think I've ever seen in person. It was amazing. As
a man as well, is he a nice guy? He's pretty intimidating. He's almost a big golf engine, isn't he, himself? I'd imagine he's got a big entourage of staff that are with him all the time, but is he a pretty decent dude as well?
Well, I don't know. In his prime, he was a brilliant night out. I mean, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll be his wingman.
Yeah, I just wish I'd been the wingman for a while. Yeah. Listen, I know, you know, I've known Tiger since we were 20. We're the same age, we got on tour at the same time. We've got a relationship whereby we know each other well enough to say hi, and I think he's been, when you're playing with him, he's all business, and but very respectful person to play with. Plays at a nice pace, goes about things, says good shot. But 3rd round of the Masters, you're not going to have a close chat with him, of course. I did, however, when we played in his own tournament, the Target World Challenge, which he hosted, which was a 12-man field. What do they call it? A wheelbarrow job at the end of the year, guaranteed money, lovely. That was, I played in that twice, which was amazing. Early December or something. It was like Christmas come early, and I played with him that 1 week. We got paired together, I think, 2nd and 3rd round. it was a bit more relaxed. We weren't going to win. We weren't doing very well. So we got going, and I said to him, I said, Tiger, we'll have a bit of a chat. It's par 5. I said, mate, I said, we turned pro basically the same year after that Walker Cup in '96. You know, when I turned pro, Chubby, my manager, had done great for me. In fairness, he'd had 2 of his mates chucked in 5 grand, so I had 10 grand to get started. And you know, if I didn't win any money in the first 6 events, I was kind of done anyway. So I was happy. As it turns out, it turned out all right. I said, mate, what was it like for you? I mean, I know it wasn't simple. What did you get? You know, was it 22 million or something when you turned pro? And he said, well, up a bit actually. And he, in fairness, you take it for granted that Tiger's basically a billionaire, isn't he? But he said, yeah, day one, he always hoped he was gonna make it and make a lot of money. He said, but that for him was like monopoly money. He said, he moved from California to Florida on day one, and the tax he saved for moving states bought him his first mansion, basically, and I actually think, and he was pretty candid with me, but I said to him, well, I think what you did so well for so many years, I mean, that sort of money could go to anyone's head early doors, and it could be a demotivator in a way. A lot of sportsmen, you play because you want to make some money, don't you? You want to earn a living at its most basic level. Of course, you want the glory. But Tiger had all that. He had more money than you could ever spend on day one, and yet still, it just empowered him in a way to go and search. After Jack's titles, major title, a career-long challenge, and he lasted quite a long time till he went off the rails. And yeah, I always think that was good, because a lot of people might well have gone off the tracks a lot sooner than Tiger did.
Well, maybe the ultimate ability is he did go off the rails a bit, but still managed to win a lot of tournaments in the meantime. I mean, 25 million, that's a lot of dances.
Yeah, oh, absolutely amazing. What I can't wait for the film to come out. I mean, there's going to be a bit of something for everyone if he ever makes a film. Something for the sports fan, and something for everyone. You let your mind go where you want to go.
Yeah, but we've talked enough about Tiger Woods. This is about David Howell and his career. You've obviously had 2 victorious Ryder Cup experiences. Favorite moments, biggest moments for you personally?
Yeah, I mean, amazing. I got inspired to play the game from the Ryder Cup. Started watching the first Ryder Cup when I was 10, I think, at the Belfry, 1985. Just got into golf. It was amazing. And as soon as I got on tour, as I got good at golf, I wanted to play in the Walker Cup as an amateur. I did that. And once I'd been on tour 2 or 3 years and realized I was, doing okay, that became my big motivator, playing a winning Ryder Cup side. I was desperate to do that, and, worked all the hours God sends to try and achieve that. And so, yeah, I think winning my first point at Oakland Hills with Paul Casey, 2 rookies, first time in 25 years, I think, or something, that 2 rookies had won together. That was amazing. And I played quite a strong part in the day, but we were great. We were a great team that day. I birdied 17. We were 1 down with 2 to play, and then Paul made an amazing par on the tough finishing hole, and we beat Furyk and Chad Campbell 1 up. And I remember watching Paul, from 30 feet away with this 4-footer, which I wouldn't have fancied, and he was strong as an ox, and he poured it in. And I just remember feeling like I was almost in a movie or something, or a dream, that in 10 years from watching Sandy Lyle to getting on tour, and then with 15 years on, I was winning a point in the Ryder Cup. I almost couldn't get my head around it. It felt really surreal. And lovely, of course, and it was a winning team. We had this amazing party on Sunday night, but I played a very small part in that one. And then 2 years later, fortunately, the K Club played 3 matches, 2.5 points from 3, and that was amazing. I had a very sweet moment, actually, that I closed out my singles with 4 birdies, and so went from sort of 1 up to winning 5 and 4 on the 14th, and I was playing a guy called Brett Wetterick, he's a good quiz question. There's not many people have heard of Brett Brett. You know, he had a great couple of years on the tour for a while and then kind of disappeared. But we were kind of in the middle of the pack. I think 7th or 8th match, hidden away really. But because I had this surging finish, I got on the green on a par 3, 15th, and I said to my caddy, Mick, I said, Mick, I've got this at a 10-footer down the hill, right to left. I said, I've got this to win the Ryder Cup. And he's like, no. We're only on 12.5 points. You've got to get 14.5. I said, well, I know, but the two guys in front, they're dormy. They're going to get half a point minimum, even if they lose the last 3 holes. So in theory, we are on 13.5 points. He said, well, you've got a good point there. I said, so I think this is to win. He says, well, I agree. He said, well, I kid you not, there was 4 people watching. 3 of them were my family. I mean, everyone else is forward on the 15th, 16th, 17th. It was almost like having a stroll on a Sunday afternoon. But I knew that this putt ultimately was to win the Ryder Cup. And I managed to pour it straight in the middle, you know, arms aloft, lovely. So that was, you know, pretty darn sure that was going to be my final Ryder Cup moment, and it was in its way to secure victory. That wasn't the way TV painted the picture, and rightly so. But by the time we got to the 16th and everyone was going crazy about Clark and Stenson and Luke Donald, I was like, guys, I took care of this 15 minutes ago. What's the problem? Yeah, we're lovely.
The putt was never in doubt from the world's best putter anyway, was it? So there we go.
I did pour to finish. That has to be said.
Yeah, I could only dream of 4 birdies in a row, my friend. But your 2 captains, Langer and Woosnam, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
2 relatively opposite captains in terms of the way they would go about their business, I imagine.
Drop the word relatively and you'll be about right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 2 completely different experiences. It was very, very funny. Bernard, I mean, and everything you would imagine from them. Bernard was clinical, very good. He made all the right decisions, but he wasn't really much of a man manager. Certainly not for me. Did nothing wrong. I didn't need my ego massaging or anything. But you know, there weren't a lot of the arm wasn't coming around the shoulder much, let's say, from Bernard, but he made great decisions and was, you know, came up with the best victory we've ever had. Woosie, on the other hand, was absolutely, Woosie likes to drink, let's face facts, and he's a pretty down-to-earth guy, #1 player in the world at one point, and he was all sort of, you know, table thumping and we're gonna effing beat them, and I love the effing Ryder Cup, and this is gonna be great. And we summed it up a couple of weeks before. We were playing, myself, Luke Donald, and Woosie played in a 3-ball in Germany. It was the last counting event for the Ryder Cup race, or 3 weeks before, I guess it would be. And we were already in the team, done and dusted, myself and Luke. Anyway, as we went round, we said, Woos, what's the plan for, you know, a couple of weeks' time? And he said, well, next week we're gonna fly over, just, you know, 6 or 8 guys from London. We're gonna go on Darren Clark's jet. We'll fly over, you know, a bit incognito, and we'll play around. And then we'll stay at the K Club, obviously, and we'll have a few beers, and then you know, we'll get up in the morning, breakfast, play again, and then we'll fly back, or we'll stay over and we'll have a few more beers. So okay, well, that sounds pretty good. But what about the actual week? He said, oh, okay, yeah. Aer Lingus 12 o'clock from Heathrow to Dublin, and then we'll get, you know, cars out to the course, settle in. He said, then we'll meet in the bar about 6. And we're going to have a tour of the wine cellar, and then we'll, you know, we'll have a little tea talk, and we'll have dinner, and then we'll have a few beers. And me and Luke are like, right, well, we quite fancy our chances, but so your plan is that we're going to win this on the piss, basically, and that was basically Woosie's plan, and kind of the way it was. Of it, of course, we weren't on the drink as the week went on, but the party on Sunday night was unbelievable. It was, I have to say, I was the cheerleader, which was nice, but it was amazing. Yeah, and you know what? At that time, I remember thinking, for all the stress that you go through, it's a great stress when you're playing in the Ryder Cup, but it's stressful. It's a bit like doing your driving test. It's great when you come out the other side, but it's not like it's wholly enjoyable, or not for me. You know, maybe for Poulter or people with other mentalities. For me, brilliant. The stuff of dreams, but also like a kind of a stressful dream. But the party, which was just unadulterated joy. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And seeing Robert Carlson, you know, with his top off like this, you know, on the dance floor, and just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I remember thinking, oh, I just want to play in another one of these because I want this party again more than anything. This is just amazing. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen now for me, but great times.
I think I've been watching them all. Actually, they're on repeat at the moment on the Golf Channel. That's all I've been doing, watching Ryder Cup, Masters, and this, that, and the other. But in fairness, I mean, what a career! I mean, when you started out, born and bred in Swindon, to think that you'd be approaching, I believe, 650 European Tour events played. I mean, that is some career, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the longevity of golf is unusual compared to most sports. I'm 40. What am I? 44 now, still going. We're very fortunate, that we can go on, and it's a kind of game that it's not all about power. But yeah, starting out, I could only have dreamed. Oh, well, I couldn't dream. I just wanted to earn a living from playing golf more than anything because I didn't like school and I didn't like doing anything else. And I found my passion at, sort of 14, I guess, really. And it was much of what else was I going to do? So I'm very, very fortunate. When I look back, the years between 16 and 20 were, when I look back now, bizarre that I managed to leave school playing off of 2 handicap, I guess, and embark upon, my plan was to play golf for the summer, work for the winter, just doing odd jobs, whatever. I didn't have no job to go to. Ended up cladding and guttering with a friend from the golf club for £10 a day, I think. Work that winter. I was going to do that for 4 years. That was my plan, to get to 20. And in those 4 years, basically without a lesson, with an old set of clubs that I'd been given, I went from 2 handicap to, frankly, one of the best amateurs in the country. Went for my tour card and got it. And my first tournament, South African Open, which I qualified for, I ended up in the last group on Sunday with Ernie Els and Mark McNulty. And I've seen photos. I am, just this little kid, really. I might have been 6 foot, but I was so young. And I was a young 20. And amazing, really. That it went so seamlessly from that basis of a plan of a kid leaving school at 16 to getting on the tour was amazing. And then to have gone on and still be out there now is, I mean, it's frankly, it is the stuff of dreams. But you get your stresses along the way, but when you take it as a 30-year period, it's been amazing. I've been very fortunate.
Well, I must say, as a sportsman, golf fan, and certainly since we met a few years ago, you're on my European app. You're one of my players to watch.
Good on you.
You're a credit to the game. Obviously, the work you're doing now as chairman, I'm sure, is massively appreciated. Hopefully, another couple of wins in the tank. Is that something you still driven to get that win? I mean, what does the next sort of 3 to 5 years hold for David Howell?
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 years have been horrendous. I know I've played my worst golf, injuries, all sorts, getting older, lost my form, no doubt about that. So I need to turn things around pretty quick, but I still absolutely have the passion for it. I get up every day looking forward to be able to hit golf balls, and I still enjoy it. And if I dropped off the tour, which I'm in danger of doing, let's face facts, I would wake up not knowing what to do, and I'd still, there's a part of me would still want to hit balls and still play and try and play well. So yeah, my enthusiasm for the game is absolutely still there. Still love it, as frustrating and as tough as it can be at times. So yeah, I mean, my goal from now would be to win another tournament, and if I can do that, that would be in my eyes, my finest hour. That would be my proudest achievement, to come back from where I've been in the last couple of years to win again. I've had a couple of long droughts in my career, 6-7 years between victories a couple of times, but I haven't had a period of such poor play as I'm facing now. So yeah, that's the plan. It would be amazing if it doesn't happen. Then hey, I've had a good run, but yeah, all guns blazing to try and make that happen.
I think with golf, there needs to be a bit of perspective. I mean, making cuts, playing on a Sunday means that you're one of the best 72 players in Europe, which is one hell of an achievement. So there are minor wins along the way, but obviously use this isolation period to refresh the body, refresh that lower back, which I'm sure takes a bit of a hammering golf swing. And indeed, I'm sure by the time we're all back out there on the sports field, David Howell will be where he rightly deserves to be, the best putter in the world, obviously. Get the C groove back out and start winning some more Euros. Cheers, Dave.
Well, thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Thank you very much, everyone who's tuned into this episode with European Tour golfer David Howell. Please click the subscribe button and don't miss any episodes. Thank you very much. Cheers.